and welcome to My Artist Friend, the podcast about the artist behind the art. I am your host, Becky Helms, and today your artist friend is me. My chronic illness has been flaring up a little bit, and I haven't really had the time to kind of catch up and get ahead of the editing. So we're just going to have a little chat about Snart today. I mentioned it in my yearly planning or my creative retrospective, one of those, my other two solo episodes that I did over the holidays. And I want to kind of talk about the concept, what I originally thought I could do, what I'm actually going to try, and kind of my plan for the month with this. So you're probably like, what are you even talking about? So Snart was an idea I had last year as the combination of snack and art to have kind of after school art instruction with my son. He has an art class at school, which is amazing, but they have specials. I think that's pretty common in the US, where each day they kind of do something different. So he'll have music one day, he'll have art one day, he'll have PE one day, which is kind of strange because we had PE every day. But I also didn't have art consistently throughout my elementary experience. It's kind of a bummer. But as an artist myself, as someone who loves art history and just adores learning about stuff like that, and, I love going to a museum. I love seeing a contemporary artist. So I just want him to be more immersed into the art world. And also, as someone who grew up making things, thanks to my mother, I want him to also know about crafts. And crafts are easy with kids when they're little. A lot of times you can just stick them down with some markers and, go for it. Like give you some yarn and here you go. But he's a little bit older now, and I want to kind of, I don't know, push the boundaries, see what he likes to make. So anyway, snack and art time was originally going to be, and you're going to laugh at me because I am someone who perpetually bites off more than she can chew. I have grandiose ideas about the things I can do and accomplish, and then it's inevitably too much for any one person to do. So I thought I would have each day after school a new craft for him to do, a unique snack for him to eat that I would make myself. And I would be able to teach him about different artists every single day. I truly thought that. I thought that was the idea. And then I tried it for a week, and, he's 9. So inevitably there's going to be a day where he's not into it, or maybe someday he's got homework. Maybe someday we're not feeling well. And then it went off the rails like immediately. Like, I cannot stress to you how quickly this project just petered out. But I love the concept. I think it's a good idea. So I kind of spent some time ruminating. I tried to bring it down a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, you've got to rein in the expectations. So the fact that snack is part of it now is just, we're going to grab what we can. But when I thought I was going to be making snacks every day, who am I? I don't even like cooking. I don't know. Sometimes I just end up on the snack side of Instagram and Reels, and you're like, yeah, I can make my own Cheez-Its. Girl, sit down, So snacks exist, but they are not handmade. If they happen to be handmade, that's great. But that is not a priority in this project. And then I decided that this year I was going to concentrate. Each month was going to be a particular kind of art medium. And one of the things my son really likes to do is collage art. He loves to cut and paste and make silly things. So my idea was in January, I have not thought past January because we're not biting off more than we can chew at the moment. We're starting small, like Kendra Adachi says on the Lazy Genius podcast. And we are doing collage art. So in January, we are going to concentrate on collage art, study some different collage artists, and then I'm going to be looking at it from a perspective of like craft versus art. So we are going to be making things that we can use, like bookmarks, maybe a little bit of decoupage kind of situation on top of things. Objects that we can craft and use. And then I also want us to make a fine art piece. And this way we can kind of talk about the difference between craft and art. And I think that's a really big kind of conversation to have, especially with younger kids who probably don't even know the difference or don't see that there should be one, which I can appreciate. But I think that's a good discussion to have. And that is a discussion you can have with basically any medium, honestly, when you think about it. So I found a list. I'll put a link down. There's a really great list by the contemporaryartissue.com. And they have a great list of artists, which I really appreciated because I remembered from school, you have your Richard Hamilton, you have your Robert Rauschenberg, even Matisse did some stuff, but there are also in this article, there are contemporary artists and more diverse artists and more women on the list, which I'm all about. So we are going to be looking at those kind of different artists, seeing how their style is so different, because I love that any medium you choose, people interpret it in so many different ways. And you think, oh, collage art is just cutting and pasting things, but there are so many different ways to cut and paste things, and people's imaginations can go wild. And it's really interesting to see the difference between the subject matter and technique, and it's just really fun. So that is what we are going to do this January when we have time, when we have the energy. And I'm going to kind of hold that loosely. I'm really excited to get started. We actually went to Scrap, which is a creative reuse store in Ann Arbor. It's kind of between Ipsy and Ann Arbor. And you know how much I love Austin Creative Reuse. They have so much stuff. I donated a ton before we moved. And I just love them. Any kind of creative reuse store you can find is going to be perfect for this project. And we went and we got so excited because they had a whole collection of National Geographics. It was really the newer ones that were like less expensive, So we got a couple issues of that for like 50 cents, and we looked through all their greeting cards, and they had, I can't remember, they didn't have a ton of magazines, but they had lots of old photos and poster board and paper and like bins where you could just like take a bucket, take a big bag and fill it up from the buckets. And those are great places for any kind of kids project that you're doing because you're not spending a lot of money. They can go in and pick out whatever they want. I just let him kind of wander and he had a blast. He picked out some things that I was like, okay, you never know what they're going to be interested in. So we went there and, I kind of wanted to keep my mind open as to what kind of materials would be good for this because collage can truly be anything. So I grabbed some sewing patterns. I grabbed craft books as well. Thrift stores are really great for this stuff too. So I'm really excited to kind of get all the materials together and really sit down and do it with him. I realize that it is, the end of the month and it might end up bleeding into February, but we'll see. I'm holding it all very loosely, to be honest. But I'm really excited about the project. If this is something that you're interested in participating in, I am going to be writing more about it over on my Substack. That's where I host my podcast, and I am hoping to kind of bring back some blog archives, stuff that I made years ago, crochet patterns, all kinds of little DIYs. Hopefully have those over there. I thought it would be fun to have the archive available again, and I would love to write about my Snart and share my projects and my son's. And if anyone else wants to participate, they are more than welcome. I just think it's a really fun idea to kind of pick one medium and really go deep on it, look at older references, look at contemporary references, study kind of the diverse way that people interpret each medium, and also kind of talk about craft versus fine art. I think it's a really fun concept, and I'm proud of myself for coming up with it. But yeah, there are so many different ways to interpret collage, and I think it's really fun. I just had an amazing idea. I'm so sorry. I was looking, they have those little, they're not really gotchas, but they have kind of the mystery boxes, those little balls at the grocery store or at like Target. And they are those little mini brands kind of things. And they had a retro one, and Andy and I thought it was really great. So we got a bunch of them. I was excited about the like the Kodak one-time use cameras, and they had some VHS tapes. If you're watching on YouTube, I have a little Ziploc full of just these little trinkets because I want to, I want to put them out on my shelves and stuff when I get the studio all put together. But how fun would some of those be? Also, it almost like an assemblage as well can go in with a collage. I just thought of that. I think that'd be really fun. Now I want to do that. Okay, now we got to go back to the reuse store and see how many little trinkets they have. Where could I go to find a good trinket? It's probably just thrifting, honestly. I saw someone on Instagram, by the way, as I, tangent. Saw someone on Instagram do a trinket exchange with their friends. They just brought over little knickknacks, little things, little trinkets, and they just traded them with each other. I think that's a great idea. Okay. Well, now I want to do an assemblage too. I'm sure we can figure it out. But anyway, I hope you like the idea. I know this is a really short episode. I was going to skip altogether and say no podcast at all this week, but I really wanted to not hold myself to account, but kind of. I really, really want to do something each week that is creative. So even on off weeks when I'm not feeling fantastic, I still want to show up for you guys, even if it's only for like 15 minutes, to talk about art, share some ideas, and yeah, that's really it. I just want to talk about art and share ideas. That's kind of my favorite thing. So if you're into Snart, let me know. Even if you just do it for yourself, you don't have to do it with a kid. And I'm going to try my best at the end of January to share a project, get something done. I'm kind of excited about it. So thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you hanging out for this short little episode. Let me know if there's anything that you want me to talk about outside of interviews too. I have like 17 years of experience selling things online in various forms, whether full-time, part-time, handmade or manufactured, all that kind of stuff. So if you have any other questions or anything that you want me to do, I think I'm going to pepper in some more solo episodes when I have time. It's funny, when I first started this podcast, I was like, I never want to do a solo episode. Like, who wants to listen to me drone on for, 20 minutes about who knows what? But this is actually a really nice, chill way to chat with you. And I appreciate it, especially on weeks when life is a lot. So anyway, I love you. You're amazing. Thank you for listening, and I will see you on Instagram, Substack. You know where all the links are. You're the best. I'll be back next week with another interview. Bye.